Hi Girl Scouts, it's Angela, and we are going to be making a very special project today in honor of Plant a Flower Day on March 12th. Who knew there was such a quirky and fun holiday? So we're going to go through the steps to make an animal planter out of a 2-liter bottle. Yes, a 2-liter bottle. So this is going to be a fun maker and reuse project. Those are the best. So to do this, you do need some supplies. You're going to need a 2-liter bottle. I highly recommend the 2-liter bottle. Smaller bottles are just a little too small to really use as a good planter. So the 2-liter, thumbs up. The next thing you need is some acrylic paint. This one is outdoor acrylic. I highly recommend outdoor acrylic. It's meant to be outside so that you can hang this planter outside. And I recommend red, blue, yellow, white, and black so that you can mix all the colors and have black to make some highlights and white. Hey, low lights. You got your shading going on. And if you're going to paint, of course, you need all the tools to paint. So you need paintbrushes, some kind of paintbrushes. You need water and a cup to put the water in, paper towels to help you clean your brushes in between colors, and to clean up any spills or messes. And you need a palette. So it could be a paper plate, it could be a stack of papers, something you can mix your paint on. Hey, you might even own a plastic palette that was meant to be a paint palette. This is the time to get that out and use it. You also need to have a covering for the surface you're going to be painting on, and you probably want to wear something that you don't care if you get paint on as well. Now, the next thing you need is some clear spray paint. I recommend this one. This is the one I typically use. You can get it in most craft stores. I like the little bottle because you don't need a lot for this project, and it only costs a couple bucks. And this is going to be the coating that goes on your plastic bottle before you paint so that your acrylic paint sticks to the surface. And then you're going to use it to seal your acrylic paint to give it another coating that will protect it from the elements outdoors. So that's why we need the spray paint. You also will want a cardboard box or a cardboard tray, something you can put your planter in to hold it while you're spray painting. So if you have to pick it up and move it while it's wet, you have something to grab and not the bottle that you're grabbing. The next thing you need is a hole punch. And you're also going to need some string or some heavy twine, something that can handle being outdoors and kind of the wind and such, because we're actually going to make this a hanging planter. And you need a permanent marker so that you can draw on your plastic bottle so you have your design so it's easy to cut out and to follow along with whatever face design you want to put on your planter for your animal. Lastly, but not least, you need a pair of scissors so that we can cut out the design we draw on our bottle for our animal. Let's get started. So yes, here's your scissors. You need those to remove the label. And then you're going to see there's a lot of gunk left from the label. So you're going to use the outside of your scissors to scrape it off. You don't need to open the scissors, just run it over. It'll slowly chip it away at it to the point where it's basically no longer there, or at least not be a problem in your project. Look at that. So now you want to think about what you want your planter to be. Will it be a fox? Will it be a cat? Will it be a bird? All right. Well, I'm making a fox. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to draw the ears next to a little bit of an arch for the head, about somewhat in the middle of the bottle or a little higher. So you can see there's the arch and then the triangles for the ears. And then I'm going to give a little bump out on the sides to show the roundness of the head. And then I'm going to connect both ends of those little bump outs from the ears so that the design wraps all the way around the bottle. That is going to be your cut line. And in order to cut, you're going to pinch the plastic and snip into the bottle. I do this above where I drew so that I don't go too far down. And I get in there with the tip once I've snipped a hole. And then I'm going to cut it out not on the line, but above the line at first. And I'm going to keep trying to get in there comfortably, so I might move my bottle around a bit and change my direction. But the goal is to get that top section off, which you're actually going to save because we're going to use that later. So you can see I have some space up there. So now it's time to clean up what we cut up and go down closer to the line that we created. Make it look as nice as we can make the edges look. So I'm going to clip and clip and clip until it's smooth, and I like the way it feels and looks to my eye. I will be able to still see the permanent marker. You could use wipe off marker. It will work the same way, but you do have the chance of losing it as you're working with the plastic bottle, wiping it off and such. So I tend to like permanent marker. You're just going to paint over it. So now, as you can see, I'm still cleaning up because that's the nature of it. I wanted it a little more curved on my sides from my ear down to the back. And I think I might actually put a tail in. So I think I'm going to do a little snip snip here, and I'm going to create a bump for the tail. So it means I'm going to have to go a little deeper. And I think I'm going to draw a little bit of a hump in to show where I want that tail to be and how far down I want it to go. Just kind of sketching it out. I'll get there. And then when I cut, at least I have a little bit of an idea what I'm trying to cut to create that little bump for the tip of the fox's tail. You don't have to do that or put a little bump for your tail. This is really your design. I do recommend going on line with parents' permission, of course, and you can Google 2-liter bottle planters, and you'll see a lot of examples of different designs people have used. I think it's very wonderful to be able to get that kind of inspiration for your very own planter. So as you can see, I'm still snipping away, snip, snip, snip. I'm going to get this all cleaned up. I'm going to get that tail outline just the way I like it, all nice and smooth, ready to go. Look at that. We have a little bump for the top of our tail, so it looks like it's taller than the body of our fox on the back. Now, I think it is time to move on to the next step. The next step is to go outside with a box and our spray paint, stick it in the box. Yep, there you go. My 2-liter planter is in the box, and we are going to spray the outside of this planter. We're going to give it a nice coat. I will probably do a second coat, which I ended up doing to make sure I got all of the surfaces inside the planter, outside the planter, and the bottom. As you can see, there's a little bit of a sheen when you spray paint the planter with the clear spray paint. Now, it's dry, which actually this is the next day, and it's time to paint our planter. So I'm going to mix a little white because I want to give this good coverage. I'm going to pull out some paper towel. I've got my palette. I've got my paintbrushes. I got some water to clean my brushes. All the good things for painting. So I'm going to use a little white because white gives good coverage. And I'm going to coat the thing. I'm probably going to add a little color to it as I go because the white won't be enough. I tend to end up always adding a little color. Let's see. Yeah. See, you can really still see that brown line through it. So, oh, look. Yep, definitely going to add some brown. So, we're going to add some brown to it. We're going to darken it up because we're going to end up brown anyway. So, this is outdoor acrylic. I will tell you, outdoor acrylic does take a little bit of time to dry compared to traditional acrylic paint. So, you're definitely going to do a layer and then you're going to walk away, let it dry, and come back and do another layer. So make sure you cover the whole inside of the planter, the outside of the planter. I mean, look in there, you could see there's a number inside that was printed by the bottling company. We want to cover that up. Nobody wants to see that. So let's get this paint on here as fast as we can. And then we'll come back after it's dry for another coat. Now, one of the nice things about outdoor acrylic paint is that it dries slower than regular acrylic paint. So know that one of the good things is that once we get to the decorative part where we're making it look like a fox, it's going to let us blend our colors better and work with our paint. It's not going to dry so quick that we can't mix colors as we paint and create really cool brush strokes and shades. So there are positives and negatives. We have to wait for it to dry, but we get a nice blend of colors when we're mixing things to make it look like fur or give it a little dimension. So, time to walk away. So this is layer of paint number 2. Walked away, let it dry, came back, and we're painting another layer. So this time I'm actually going to make my own paint. I'm making and mixing brown. I'm using the red paint, some yellow, some blue, and kind of making my own color. When you mix all the primary colors together, you get brown, if you don't remember. So if you want it redder, you make it with more red. If you want to make it darker, you add more blue. If you want it to be lighter, you add more yellow. So what it's doing is giving it a little more of that orangey fox color that we were hoping to achieve, that you always think of when you think of a graphic or a picture or a painting of a fox. I think this one is definitely a red fox, not a gray fox. It might just be that I'm partial because one of my dogs looks a bit like a red fox. But this little guy is definitely going to have a redder tone to his fur. So just keep adding those layers on and keep adding painting. Going inside, going outside, filling in the back, getting a really good layer. And look at me, I'm still mixing paint. Just keep going at it until you get that second coat on there. This is not a fast process. It is not fast, but it will look really good. Once you've got it coated, you're going to step away again and let it dry. I know, drying time. But after this, you will be able to paint your design on, and that's the part we're all excited to get to, I'm sure. So just keep going, get the inside, get the outside. Check those edges because paint likes to clump on the edges of the top of the planter. All right, I think we're almost there. Time to stop. So we let this layer dry. And now we're coming in to do some detailing. So I am using some white to create the sides of the fox's face. And what I'm going to do is bring it down to the tip of the nose, which is the point in the bottle or the foot of the bottle. So you can see there's a little bit of a swoosh and a swoosh. And then on the other side, there will be another swoosh and a swoosh. And we're going to go in and start filling that in with paint, white paint, at least the first layer. This does get done in layers. Now, I am going to work on the other side a little bit. We're going to fill that in. And as we go, you'll see the long brush strokes and the short brush strokes start to make it have a bit of that feeling of fur in the white paint. We'll just keep going and going. Now, I've switched to the tail on the back. You can see I outlined it, and now I'm putting some reddish, lighter color brown in, added some white to the top of the tip. I'm going to let this layer basically blend together, the white and the lighter red. I'm just going to keep playing with it until it looks the way I want it to look. And that's what you should do too. You should just keep playing with the paint till it gets where you want it to look. And if for some reason something doesn't look right to you, you stop. You let it dry and you paint over it. That is one of the wonderful things about acrylic. Oh, look, I had too much paint there, so I removed a little. And I really want you to think about that too, is that none of this is permanent. If some of this like splatters, say, you can wipe it off with your paper towel in a little water. You might smudge some of the extra paint around it, but you know what? You can go over it and fix it. It is fixable. So keep adding in that paint, fixing up those colors, and don't let yourself get discouraged if you don't like something, because you can always let it dry and go over it. I've actually added white in the ears at this point. I'm starting to dab at the layer of paint. You can see that up and down motion to create what might look a little bit like fur texture in the paint. I'm adding a little more purple, a little more blue, and adding some shading in there as well as I go. So it's very, very hard to paint on this surface with it facing up. Otherwise, I'd be letting you see this, but I really struggled, and it's just too wobbly. So I do apologize that you can't see directly what I'm doing, but honestly, you're all going to do your own version of this. So you will get a chance to see what it looks like when I'm done. But basically, I'm just layering paint right now. And I think I'm still working on the tail. Yes, I am. It does take me a while to get it where I want it to go and what I want it to look like. In fact, I think it took me a total of an hour and a half to actually paint this. I have edited this way down. So just so you know, this is not a fast process painting this, but can you see the shading color difference there? It's definitely pronounced. Now I'm going back to the front, and I'm working on some of the front because it's dried a little. And I can add some more color in and some more texture with the paintbrush. See, here's that dabbing motion again, trying to get some color in there and a little more texture in the way the paint looks and the brush strokes look. So let's see, I'm grabbing some more paint, adding some more color right down the center of the bridge of the fox's muzzle, trying to add a little more texture there. And I decided to go with a fatter brush because I felt like it wasn't giving me enough coverage of this shade of brown. So I'm going through and doing that as well. In a minute or so, I will find that I don't like it as much, and I will give up on the fat brush. But I do think it's good that I had added this layer, thin layer. Yep, there we go. I'm back to doing that dabbing to create that texture in the fur. So you can add a little white, add a little more brown, add a little bit of blue, add a little bit of purple. Those colors are going to help create that texture in the fur as you layer it on. Don't be afraid to blend it. So there you go. You can see the tail's getting a little more defined and a little more, having a little more pop. All right, now I'm doing the nose. I went down to the base of the cup of the foot, and I basically followed the shape of the triangle that is the foot of my 2-liter bottle. And now, because of what I'm trying to do, I'm completely covering up the view, but I am adding just more longer strokes in the muzzle area of the fox. As we keep going, I'm just going to work more and more on the ears and the muzzle and try to get the white in the ears and the brown to kind of blend together. A little more white to make them pop, and then a little more blending as we go. Here we go, look at that, a little more blending in, adding more a little white to pop. And we're getting closer and closer to this little guy getting some eyes. But first, a little bit more white and a little bit more texture and a little bit more fluffiness to the fur based on my layering of brush strokes. All right, and you can see the nose down there. It's much darker. I took the dark brown paint I had and added blue to it to make it darker. If you have black, you can use that as well. It makes a great addition to make the nose pop. Now, I'm putting in some last finishing touches on the white, and slowly but surely, our fox is coming to life. Now, you can see a little tail, a little dab here and there of some brown and some reddish brown around the ears, blended a little more. I'm telling you, it took some time to paint this, but when you take the time, it turns out pretty cute. So keep going, keep layering, and soon we'll be giving this little guy eyes. Look at that. Yeah, I'm gonna blend some more before I get to the eyes. It's a little too much white. Yep. Keep painting. Yep, blend around the ears some more. Blending. All right. I think then wait, lean it back. Nope. Yep. Oh, look. A little bit of work on the nose. Definitely time to work on the nose. Get it to pop out a little bit more, adding a little darkness on the edges, towards the top, towards the bottom as the bottle turns in. I'm just too excited. I want to see eyes on this little guy. And it looks like we have reached that point. So it's basically a line, and then we're going to basically do an oval below it. So you're going to paint a line and put a little oval below it. And then you're going to look at it, and you're going to kind of use your paintbrush and kind of get kind of where it is directly across from it. And you're going to make that line again and that little oval. And you're going to create a lovely eye. You're going to fill that in with some paint. Give it a little bit more darkness. Give it a little bit more look. Make sure it's even. Do you need to adjust it any so that they don't look off when you're looking at dead on, straight forward? So let's say one eyebrow isn't really long and the other one's really short, or the one is really sticking way up and the other one's way down. One's too thin, one's too thick, that kind of stuff. Try to make them look somewhat similar. Now, I am doing those adjustments, and I'm making them a bit darker too as I go. And it looks like we're getting there. Look at that. My fox has a face and a tail. A face and a tail. So I'm going to go around and darken the bottom of the little bumps on the sides. So there's 4 of them. So they're kind of like the little paws for our fox. So I'm going through and using a darker brown just on the very bottom of those feet, just to give them a little darkness and depth. Not a whole lot darker, just not that light red that we've been using, like the true brown that came out of the brown bottle of outdoor paint. So there you go. There's our fox. See how the feet are darker? All right. Now, I think she's ready to sit and dry. Now that she's dry, it's time to do our sealing coat of spray paint. I actually did 2 coats of spray paint on her. But basically, same as before, give it some distance, spray her, get her all over, inside out. You're going to want to, when she's dry, flip her upside down, and that's when I did a second coat. It will look very good. See? So shiny when it's all dry. So shiny. She's all ready to go. Now she wants to be a hanging planter. And in order to do that, we need string. Yes. So whatever your heavy duty string is you chose, I have jute from my garden. We are going to cut 4 lengths of jute. I believe I ended up with like over a yard. So maybe a yard and a half, a yard and a quarter in length. Honestly, I think it was pretty close to the length of my table, which really is not that big, but my length of my table. So now I'm going to put those aside, and I'm going to get my hole punch. The hole punch, we're going to punch in the 4 places, right there on the side of where the bump in my planter is, and in the front and the back center. So you can see I'm lining it up. I'm not putting it super close to the top, but enough that there's enough plastic between it and the hole that it's not going to break too easily. There won't be too much stress on that plastic, that little lip of plastic. So we're going to put the hole in the back. And honestly, a great way to line it up is to look through your hole punch and see if you can see the hole through your hole punch. You'll know you're pretty in line with the front hole if you can do that. So there you go. Now we're going to do the side ones. And if you really look at the side of your hole punch, you can see there's usually a line in the hole punch that you can line them all up with inside to help you get, oops, I dropped it. Get your hole punch at the correct level every single time. If you look on the side there, you can see I'm lining it up with that where the opening and the metal meet. Okay, this one just does not want to punch, does it? Yep, there you go. See that little arch? That's where I'm lining it up with. So let's try that again. There we go. Oh, yeah, you didn't see that very well. There we go, up close. There, both are done now. All right, we have our holes. So now we need to knot our strings. So I'm going to pull them apart because they're a bit tangled. And once I get them set to go, we will be ready to start tying them to our planter. So now we're going to take our planter and we are going to tie the string through each of the holes. I'm pulling about maybe an inch and I'm tying a knot. Doing it again in the next hole. Basically just a simple knot. Doing the next hole. I will go back and I will actually, if I decide I want to, add some more knotting with the string to clean it up. But for now, we'll just do it simply. We're going to get up now and stand and hold our planter up in the air. And the idea is that we're going to stick something heavy inside the planter so it weighs it down to make it easy to create the right balance in our string so that the front of the planter doesn't lead forward or the back of the planter doesn't lead forward. So I actually am going to tie a knot in the string. See how I'm holding it and I'm pulling the string through? And I actually have my finger caught in the loop and then I pull it out and pull it tight. So now, if you can see, the back and the front do not lean one way or the other, they're balanced. See the knot? Here's my ring. It is from a K-cup. But there's probably other recyclables out there that you can use, but I'm going to knot it just above the knot in my jute string. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to knot it continually all the way around my circle, basically going through the circle with the strings and then tucking it through the jute string and pulling it tight. And I'm going to repeat that over and over and over again. If you've ever done a blanket stitch, it's a bit like doing a blanket stitch, but with 4 jute strings through the circle. Just keep going until you get to the end. So, pull it out straight, flip it over through the hole, stick it through the loop created by the string, and pull it tight. And you're just going to keep doing this. Basic blanket stitch over and over and over until you get to the end of the row with the jute string. And run out of string, honestly. And then I'm going to tie it off a couple different ways just to make sure that it's tight. So I'm going to split the strings and tie them to the main string kind of around my knot so that it's strong and those strings are tucked in and they're not looking like they're going to come apart. You can play with this a bit because most string is pretty forgiving. So you can try a couple different ways, and if you don't like the way it looks, you can always undo it and try it again. But the idea with this plastic hoop is that it's going to give you a nice hanging hook. You can actually create a loop with just the string or the jute or what have you that you are using to hang your planter with. But I like the idea of something a little stronger, and since I have this K-cups that were recyclable and had rings, I decided to reuse them. So here we go, a couple more knots, and we are almost done. Now, you're gonna take that top of the plastic bottle. Remember the top of your plastic 2-liter bottle? You're gonna clean it up so that it's all smooth. You don't need the cap, you just need the top part, and you're gonna clean it up so it's all smooth. Look at that. And you're gonna stick it inside your planter. Oh, look at that. Yep, perfect. Now I'm gonna fill it up with dirt. Fill it, fill it, fill it with dirt. Look at it go. The reason we want that plastic top inside is it's gonna keep the water from drowning our plants. So if we keep watering, water can sit in the bottom and drain out, but also keep our soil moist through evaporation. So I'm going to plant some marigolds in my dirt, just a couple seeds. And then another one there. Oh, look at that. Now they're all buried in there. Now I'm going to water it. We're going to water it nice and high because this is pretty dry soil. So we'll let it absorb, and then I'm going to add some more. I think I'm only going to do this twice, but I probably could do it a third time. Now that it's all absorbed, we are done, and I'm going to go hang my planter out on the porch where it is going to have plenty of sunlight and make it feel like spring at my house. I hope you enjoyed making this animal planter out of a 2-liter bottle. Talk about a wonderful reuse project. And I also hope that on April 12th, you will plant a flower in honor of Plant a Flower Day. And I also, before I let you go, want to let you know that you should check out www.gshom.org and our events page, because Girl Scouts Heart of Michigan has a lot of wonderful events coming up. And one in particular is in honor of another quirky holiday, and that is Draw a Bird Day. So what it is called is Drawn to Birds. Think that. It's a drawing program. So that program is happening April 8th for brownies and juniors, and I hope that you will get on gshom.org and get onto our Event Smart site and register for this program so that I will be seeing you on April 8th if you are a brownie or a junior. All the supplies are included. So it will be a fun evening celebrating a very quirky holiday. On that note, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining us, girls. Keep on making.